Hollywood legal battle heads to a New York City courtroom today with a hearing on the lawsuit between actors Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. The U.S. district judge in the case is holding a video conference on a motion for a protective order.
No, we're like, oh my God, there's...
And they score again.
No.
Again.
Like, oh my God, I forgot to tell you something else.
I think that's cute. You guys are really cute.
I think it's more than cute.
New footage from Justin Baldoni's camp and a new response from Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' side has just heated up this already bitter legal war going on between the stars. Who's telling the truth about what happened on the set of It Ends With Us?
Blake Lively's lawyers are now saying they don't want Brian Friedman to depose her. Girl, you don't get a choice.
Hold on tight, everyone, as we are about to go into one of the most startling court cases in Hollywood, Justin Baldwin's decisive triumph over Blake Lively. Yes, the adored actress and style icon is currently embroiled in a scandal, and the specifics are more juicy than ever, from covert plots to dramatic courtroom scenes.
If I was on the Baldoni side, I'd feel pretty good. I'd feel like, wow, we got almost everything we wanted. I mean, yes, we have, a few things that are attorney's eyes only, but we stopped the Lively attorneys from being able to unilaterally designate anything and everything. And we now have some grounds where we can push back on them if they over-designate things, such as designating highly personal information that is relevant.
The Times quoted emails and texts allegedly sent by publicists hired by Baldoni, including the line, "We can bury anyone." The New York Times tells CBC News the story was responsibly reported and based on a review of thousands of pages of original documents. On the same day that Baldoni sued the Times, Lively took her harassment claim to federal court and added accusations of emotional and mental distress. Back in the summer, some fans took offense with how Lively promoted the film about a woman making her way out of an abusive relationship.
All in all, I would feel pretty good if I were on the Baldwin side. However, one of the most intense parts of the trial was when Justin Baldwin's attorney personally questioned Blake Lively in court. According to witnesses, the grilling was harsh, with Blake finding it difficult to answer some of the most damning questions thrown at her. What was revealed in that testimony? Did Blake make a mistake and reveal something she wasn't supposed to? You won't want to miss this one. So grab some popcorn and let's get started.
Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, grilled on Blake Lively in contentious interview. Brian Friedman was taken to task by Puck's Matt Baldoni, who by the end of their podcast, Baldoni, who by the end of their podcast interview had compared the lawyer to Donald Trump. The comparison was just an aside. I really don't think it was a contentious interview whatsoever, but I do think what's interesting is at the end of the interview, they get Brian Friedman to discuss why he's not settling this case and why his client's not. Also, they talk about the rogue PR agent, Steph Jones, who once was done doing business with Wayfair, may have coordinated with Blake Lively in the New York Times business. They call it shady.
So, what specifically happened? As reported by several sources, Blake Lively was sued by Justin Baldoni on serious charges of defamation, harassment, and purposeful mental distress. But the true question is what caused this dramatic confrontation to occur and why they appeared separately on the red carpet. Co-stars of the popular blog It Ends With Us were obviously at odds this summer, and they have since filed lawsuits against each other. In a December article about Blake Lively's claims that Justin Baldoni hired a public relations firm to try to damage her reputation, the actor and director accuses the New York Times of lying. Lively also echoes this allegation in her sexual harassment lawsuit against Baldwin in California.
Appearing separately on the red carpet this summer, co-stars in the blockbuster It Ends With Us were clearly at odds. Now they've filed competing lawsuits. Actor and director Justin Baldoni accuses the New York Times of libel in a December story that reported on allegations by Blake Lively that Baldoni hired a PR firm to try to ruin her reputation. It's a claim echoed by Lively in the sexual harassment complaint she filed against Baldoni in California.
If you look at his complaint, he points out certain text messages that were looked at out of context. For example, there were emojis, there was certain language that was not reported on by the Times.
There have been rumors of tension between Justin and Blake in Hollywood for years, but no one ever anticipated it to reach this point. According to some insiders, Blake had been spreading untrue rumors about Justin trying to damage his reputation in the business, while others say their feud stems from an undisclosed project that went horribly wrong behind the scenes. However, no one can pinpoint the precise cause of their animosity. This legal dispute was evidently years in the making.
Blake Lively is presenting it as a fun time for your girlfriends. Wear your floral dresses to the movies. Sort of a Barbie kind of thing. And then you have Justin Baldoni talking much more seriously about the darker elements of the story. And that just fell in line with people who were looking for that to be called out. I think it's mostly just to try and get some of the public sentiment back onto his side. I do think it will work to an extent.
Let's fast forward to the courtroom confrontation. Imagine the high level of excitement, the flurry of journalists, and the fans glued to their screens, anticipating developments.
Blake's legal complaint includes a document allegedly from Justin's PR team that lays out strategies on how to protect the director's reputation should the actress and her team, quote, make her grievances public. And one section includes tactics to use if her husband Ryan Reynolds came forward in her defense. In addition to avoiding, quote, direct engagement if this happened, the document also notes that, quote, as part of this, our team can also explore planting stories about the weaponization of feminism and how people in BL's circle like Taylor Swift have been accused of utilizing these tactics to bully into getting what they want. In the same document, Justin's PR crisis management team allegedly proposed that if Blake hinted at her, quote, experience working with him in the press, and a reporter reached out for comment, and it was obvious she was indeed referring to the director, that, quote, speculation can be turned to another one of the many people she's had issues working with in the past.
According to insiders who witnessed the hearings, Justin's PR team apparently produced a dossier outlining tactics for handling the tense situation. The judge also used strong language with Blake, calling her alleged behavior disrespectful and unprofessional. The court decided in Justin Baldwin's favor on all counts, making the result a huge victory for him. Blake was found accountable in addition to being sentenced to pay a sizable sum for damages, which could potentially ruin her career.
In the protective order is security measures taken by parties or third parties. So there is an argument that, there's certain security measures that celebrities take, and to disclose that could harm the people who are taking these security measures. The judge points out that, look, the Wayfarer parties have suggested that security measures are not relevant to this proceeding, but they have not raised objections to such information being kept AEO if it is disclosed. So it's kind of like the judge is thinking, well, they didn't say we couldn't, and they didn't argue against it. So let's just put attorney's eyes only on that.
I heard someone on a different show say that there's two different trials, one in the legal courts, one in the court of public opinion. And one of the things that his attorney is claiming in his complaint was that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds had pressured Justin Baldoni and his team once the film was out and she was getting this negative backlash to put out a statement, basically, accounting, saying we behaved poorly on this set, there was misconduct, which they refused to do. And I think the thinking behind that might have been, hey, if they put out this statement taking some of the blame, the backlash against her on social media might start to lessen a little bit. They refused to do that, saying we did nothing wrong here. And then I think that's where a lot of the court of public opinion is coming out. And I also think, his complaint against her was 200 pages with tons of text messages, emails. That's fairly long. I haven't seen a federal complaint that long. So I think that's a big part of it.
However, this is where things become even more intriguing. The following shocking revelation comes from a person familiar with the case. Blake's legal team was caught off guard by some of the evidence that was shown in court. What was the incriminating proof that decided Blake's doom?
Since her legal action, Justin's lawyer Brian Friedman has denounced Blake's claims, telling the New York Times that these accusations were a, quote, desperate attempt to fix her negative reputation, which was garnered from her own remarks and actions during the campaign for the film. Interviews and press activities that were observed publicly in real time and unedited, which allowed for the internet to generate their own views and opinions.
There's been a motion for protective order in the case, and the judge has responded, issuing that order, but with caveat.
This is where everything starts to go haywire. The most shocking part of the evidence, according to reports from Justin Baldwin's legal team, was that Blake had not only been spreading rumors, but had also allegedly been using her connections in Hollywood to sabotage Justin's projects. The evidence included witness testimony, emails, and text messages.
Here's what the judge has to say. Blake Lively versus plaintiff, which is Wayfair Studios. And then we have Wayfair Studios, plaintiff versus Blake Lively. So they're kind of both suing each other. So it's all in one. Judge Lehman, United States District Judge. Whereas all of the, and by the way, he's going to be able to issue like a full protective order or partial. So we're going to have to just see what this is all about. Whereas all of the parties to this action, collectively the parties and individually a party, request that this court issue a protective order pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 26C to protect the confidentiality of certain non-public and confidential material that will be exchanged pursuant to and during the course of discovery in this case. Whereas the parties acknowledge that this protective order does not confer blanket protections on all disclosures or responses to discovery, and that the protection it affords only extends to the limited information or items that are entitled under the applicable legal principles to confidential treatment. Whereas the parties further acknowledge that this protective order does not create entitlement to file confidential information under seal, and whereas in light of these acknowledgments and based on the representations of the parties that discovery in this case will involve confidential documents or information the public disclosure of which will cause harm to the producing person and or third party to whom a duty of confidentiality is owed, and to protect against injury caused by dissemination of confidential documents and information, this court finds good cause for issuance of an appropriately tailored confidentiality order governing the pretrial phase of this action.
The allegation that a former member of Blake's team leaked some of this information is even more shocking. According to the anonymous source, they provided screenshots and private documents that revealed behind-the-scenes conversations that gave a completely different picture of the actress. If verified, this could have a significant impact on Blake's future in the business.
The judge advising both sides to avoid making public statements that could prejudice the proceedings. If not, the judge voiced his ability to move up the trial that's currently scheduled for March of 2026. So at the hearing Monday, Lively's attorneys referenced the website launched by Baldoni's team a few days earlier that contains documents pertaining to the legal battle, including a section titled Timeline of Relevant Events with text messages between Lively and Baldoni.
Although Blake's team has obviously denied these claims, the damage may already be done. Speaking of harm, let's discuss how the world is responding to this shocking verdict. However, Lively's claims paint a different picture of who is the real victim and villain, one that Baldoni intends to muddy with his own legal lawsuit, according to this pop culture columnist.
But Lively's allegations present a different picture about who is villain and victim in real life. One that Baldoni hopes to muddy with his own libel lawsuit, says this pop culture columnist.
This is from Albertson and Davidson at Law, our lawyer friends here, and they give an update to the protective order that was granted in part by the judge. A lot of people, are wondering who won the protective order that we found out yesterday. Was it Blake's side? Was it Justin's side?
Since this revelation surfaced, fans have been divided on the internet. Some are supporting Justin and applauding him for defending himself, while others are jumping to Blake's defense and claiming that this is just an unjust attack on her character.
I don't understand what Blake Lively's lawyers are doing and allowing her to let things like this get out. They only add to the image we've all assumed about her, that she's this entitled, egotistical, higher-than-thou celebrity who will stomp on whoever and do what she pleases.
Celebrities have begun to consider Ryan Reynolds as well. According to reports, Blake's spouse was incensed by the court decision and has kept quiet about it.
Blake Lively scores a win amid her ongoing legal battle against Justin Baldoni. After the Gossip Girl alum and husband Ryan Reynolds applied for a protective order earlier this month to keep sensitive information from circulating to the public, a judge for the Southern District of New York has approved a modified version of the order. In legal filings viewed by E! News, the judge notes that the couple's initial filing has been, quote, granted in part and denied in part, and its stipulations will cover both the Lively and Baldoni parties in the ongoing litigation.
However, this is where things become even more messy. At a recent press event, Anna Kendrick, who has previously been at odds with Blake, was asked about the lawsuit. Rather than responding, She walked straight past reporters without saying a word. As we all know in Hollywood, silence sometimes speaks louder than words. Meanwhile, other celebrities, such as Priyanka Chopra and Zendaya, have taken to social media to share cryptic messages about the truth always coming to light, which some fans take to be subtle jabs at Blake. Not to be overlooked is Justin's close friend Gina Rodriguez, who recently posted, "Justice prevails always." Is she implying something more profound? The drama seems to be continuing to develop.
Listen, the court of public opinion is weighing in, and people have some very hot takes. I feel like more people are leaning more towards Baldoni with the more evidence we're starting to see come out. But when the judge said that he wanted to expedite the trial and make it earlier, everybody online was like, please, we're following this and we don't want to wait another year.
But beyond this one lawsuit, the entire situation highlights a larger issue in Hollywood. We've repeatedly witnessed how the industry's fixation with control, reputation, and power can result in shocking betrayals and ruthless behavior, from the Britney Spears conservatorship battle to Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Hollywood's dark side has been on full display in recent years.
Doesn't it just come down to, was Blake Lively harassed on set in violation of an agreement that your clients made? And was she disparaged online in violation of an agreement that your clients made?
So let's take the first part for a second. In the CRD complaint and in the first filing of the lawsuit with the Southern District of New York, the allegations in the complaint say, once the 17-point list was agreed to, everything from then on was fine. There were no issues. So when you talk about on the set, all of the scenes and all of that took place after the 17-point bullet list was agreed to. So even in her own CRD complaint and in her own initial filed complaint, it says that everything was fine from that point on. So now we're really limited to nothing more ultimately than was there a smear campaign.
However, this case adds a further layer of chilling allegations that a CIA agent working with Blake Lively has been using political ideology and covert tactics to change the narrative in her favor. According to insiders, this agent has been working behind the scenes to manipulate public perception using targeted smear campaigns and media-influenced political rhetoric. If true, this raises serious questions about how deeply ingrained these tactics are in Hollywood's power structure.
The ex-CIA agent working for Blake Lively is using tactics to divide and conquer as new articles come out, sort of weaponizing the political ideologies that might be trying to dismantle beliefs involved in this case. What does that mean? They're trying to keep us fighting with each other, not with our eyes on the prize. And again, this is to find out if Blake Lively's discovery would be allowed, or if she'd be, her plan was to say, due to the PR nature and the salacious tendency of people to pick up on every part of a story, we don't think we should have to present some of our text messages and discovery with our high-profile clients, that being Taylor Swift and whoever else. Some people say Bradley Cooper and whatever other friends of Blake Lively might get sucked into this. So that's what the protective order request was for. Justin Baldoni's side argued that they think that she shouldn't receive any preferential treatment because she's famous, and we need to see all this information. We'll redact it, we'll keep it from the public, and they say, no, you'll leak it.
Once regarded as two of Hollywood's most adored characters, Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively are now having their reputations called into question. What does this mean for the entertainment sector as a whole? How far will Hollywood elites go to keep control? And more importantly, who's next? Regardless of whether you support Justin or Blake, one thing is certain: this story is far from over. Okay, that concludes today's video, but I'd like to know what you think about it. Do you believe Justin Baldoni had good reason to sue Blake Lively? Or do you think there's more to this story that we don't know about? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm reading them all.